Welcome to Career Tipper Podcast, hosted by Michelle Beatty. The Career Tipper Podcast is a motivational resource that shares career and entrepreneurial tips by industry experts that will help amazing people evolve to their professional best. And now your host, Michelle Beatty.
Episode 16 of the Career Tipper Podcast features Chef Jenn. Chef Jenn is the founder and CEO of Dajen Eats. She is a self-taught chef that is leading her own vegan movement with a Jamaican flair. Dajen Eats is the home of the Irie, happy vegan, that is inspiring diverse populations to redefine healthy eating while supporting a compassionate lifestyle which humans and non-human animals are treated fairly. Jenn is going to share how she helps others with their food journey while maximizing her own. I'm your host, Michelle Beatty, career confidence author and coach. Jenn, welcome to the Career Tipper Podcast.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm excited because you have some amazing nuggets to share just about life and culinary, and I know you're going to inspire so many with this interview.
Yes, that was one heck of an intro. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, ma'am. So, tell me a bit about your journey to becoming a self-taught professional chef, because I think it's amazing, and you're definitely not an overnight success. So, please share with the listeners your journey of becoming a chef.
Well, I think it's really funny that that's the question that you're leading with, because I remember a few years back when you and I had first met, you in particular had tried to convince me to use the title chef. And I was so much against it, like, no, I'm not a chef. I don't know what I'm doing. Please don't call me chef. And you're like, okay, do you cook for people? Do you sell the food that you cook for people? Is that not what chefs do? And it took me a while to kind of embrace that title. My company, Dajen Eats, started out as a blog. A bit of a backstory. I'm from Jamaica originally. I came here when I was 16 for college, and I quickly learned a couple of things. To continue enjoying certain luxuries like eating and living inside, I needed to stop eating out. And that's how I started cooking. I needed to learn how to cook to save money. And so I was really bad at it, Michelle. Like, terrible. Like, almost burned down my apartment several times. Terrible. And I'm not like being dramatic, it's the truth. But each time I learned something new, I would tell my friends, oh my gosh, I learned this technique and you should learn it too. And did you know, I would completely geek out. Did you know that if you add salt at this point in the cooking versus that point in the cooking, it changes the texture in this way? And I realized that I completely fell in love with cooking and with food science. And so I started blogging about it. And the blogging led to cooking classes, and the cooking classes led to meal deliveries, which led to meal plans, which led to pop-ups, and ultimately to a restaurant, a vegan restaurant in the middle of a gas station. And now we're moving to our second location. But yeah, that has been my self-taught chef journey. Food science is kind of my thing.
I've learned a lot from you about food and culinary and vegan eating. So thank you, because I definitely try, I've attended your culinary classes and I've read your blogs, and, I've definitely tried your food. And I love how you're always sharing simple techniques in the kitchen, different foods to try that are not only healthy, but they're filling. So I'm all about being full after I eat, and you do that. Yes. So I appreciate you being the teacher, because I've definitely been a student. So thank you. So when was that moment that you knew, that educating people about the vegan lifestyle was your purpose? Because I think it seems like you've had a lot of different aha moments along the way, but is there that one moment that you knew, like, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, I think in many ways, a lot of what I've done has been reactive to circumstances up until one really defining point. So something would happen, and then I would go here. Somebody would make a suggestion. Hey, why don't you do this? I remember Now that I think about it, even pretty pivotal in this journey, actually, Michelle.
Me?
Yeah, you have. I remember you had introduced me to someone, and the person had said, can you put your food in a box? I said, no, but I have cooking recipes. I mean, I'll teach you how to do it. And she looked at me. She's like, can you like put it in a box, like for me to eat? And I said, no, I'll show you the recipe. She says, Jen, you're not getting it. I don't want to cook it. Can you put it in a box, give it to me, and I'll give you money? And I thought, oh, money? What a novel idea. And that's really how I started like selling food. It was because of that one push. And so in many ways, the different paths that I've taken, they've been reactive to situations like that. We used to do pop-ups, and then that relationship came to an end, and I needed somewhere to continue meeting the public to have my food. And so I started looking into getting a restaurant. But the one real defining moment for me when I knew that I was firmly planted in my purpose was being here at the gas station, because we are in the middle of a gas station in a neighborhood that's not known for being remotely vegan, and that was by choice. We really wanted to make veganism seem accessible. So our first brunch was a Saturday. We did chicken and waffles, and we had sold out. And we were wrapping up, and a gentleman came in, and he's like, "What you got?" I mean, heavily tattooed or tatted, if that's the expression. Gold teeth, gold chain. Not exactly the first vision that comes to mind when you think vegan, right? But he's like, what you got? I said, well, we have some food in the cooler. We were all sold out of our chicken and waffles, but we have some grab and go meals. He said, okay, how much is it? I said, $10. He said, all right, I'm gonna get two, one for me, one for my girl. Fantastic. I'm at home this Sunday, and they have an ice cream freezer at the cafe, and on that freezer is my cell phone. And my phone rings, and this person goes, yeah, I bought your food yesterday. And, you have those moments when your stomach is in your toes, and you're like, what now? I'm thinking, what now? And he said, yeah. So I came back to the gas station, and I see you have ice cream, but the guy out front doesn't know how much the ice cream is. Can you tell me how much it is, and can I just give him the money? I was like, okay, sure. It's $5. He said, okay, I'm going to give him the money. And I came the Monday, and it was $30. He had bought 6 ice creams. Oh, and wow. He would come back to the cafe once a week faithfully and buy hot food and something from the cooler. And we have this free library at the cafe. It's all vegan books, vegan thought books and cookbooks, and it's on the honor system. You borrow it, you return it, and so forth. And somebody had just returned Thug Kitchen, which is probably our most returnable and re-borrowed, if that's a word, book that we've had on the shelf. And that gentleman happened to come by, and he was thumbing through it. And I said to him, you can take that home. He said, yeah, because I'll probably cook some of this stuff. And then he looked at me like square in the eye, Michelle. And he said, Jen, I don't think you know this, but every time I come, I buy stuff from me and I buy stuff out the cooler. I give it to my mom. I bring it to her because she has diabetes. And I think if she eats your food, that she'd get better. And I'm about reduced to a pool of tears, walk away right now because it's about to get ugly.
Oh my goodness.
And it was really exactly in that moment when I knew that this insane thing of being in a gas station with vegan food is precisely what I should be doing at that time.
I love that. I was thinking you were going to say you're teaching at Valencia or one of your culinary, but what an amazing connecting moment. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all warm fuzzy inside.
Yeah, I did the ugly cry. I was like, yeah, walk away now, walk away.
You never know why someone's eating your food. You genuinely don't, but I know it's yummy.
Yes, thank you.
It is yummy. So how do you handle the highs and lows of your day?
I'm completely and utterly in love with Rudyard Kipling. And he has this poem called If. You're probably familiar with it. And there's this one stanza where he says, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. And then he goes on and he goes on. But that one line has always given me pause. it's kind of that's how I get through things. When I'm having some really ridiculous, unexpected highs, I'm appreciative of that moment, and of course, I'm celebrating with the team, and I'm very proud of what I've done. But then I also recognize that it's just a part of the journey as well. So when the moments of the hard lessons come along, I also apply that same principle. It's just a part of the journey. So this too will pass. The high will pass, the low will pass, and we'll always get back to some kind of happy medium.
Yeah, I like the happy medium place, though.
Yes.
I do. So I know you have a lot of amazing things in the work. So what's next on your to-do list?
On the immediate to-do list, well, the biggest one for me is our move to Eatonville. Are you familiar with the town of Eatonville?
I am familiar with the town of Eatonville, but please share what Eatonville is and where Eatonville is for the listeners.
Eatonville is the oldest incorporated all-black municipality in the United States. One of the I think their motto is the town that freedom built. And one of the reasons we had moved into the gas station in Rosemont was to show that, first of all, the ongoing image of veganism isn't somebody who looks like me. There's an idea that African Americans or even people of different ethnicities, they tend not to be vegans, which is absolutely not true. But so I wanted to be in that neighborhood to show that veganism is just food. And if it can be as mundane as, as pumping gas, you can go vegan. And so I really wanted to be in an underserved community. And I think that moving to Eatonville will still continue that purpose. I think that the town of Eatonville is so rich with culture. It's so rich with promise, but it's actually considered a food desert because there are no grocery stores there, and healthy food options in Eatonville are few and far in between. And so I think that going there would be very beneficial on both ends. It'll be great for the community because we're bringing, really tasty, healthy options to the community. And it'll be great for us because it helps to continue our purpose, and then we get to build and draw from that culture.
I love it. When I saw the post on social media, I was so giddy inside and excited because I was like, that is so Jen. Like when you made the announcement, I was like, yeah, that's so Jen. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I agree with everything that you said. And I think it's just you being authentically Jen. So, and everything that you stand for.
Did you know that they have a yard and garden club in Eatonville?
Yes.
And said yard and garden club will be providing us with veggies for the cafe.
Stop it, I say.
We're so excited. It's not even funny.
That's a fantastic partnership.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. What a compliment to them and a huge compliment to you. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the town has been very receptive of us coming there. Of course, we're in the not the planning, but the actual building stage, because we're converting a space that wasn't previously a restaurant into a restaurant. Okay. And so that's where we are right now. We're in the build out phase. But everybody seems to be buzzing. They're, oh, you're coming. We heard you're coming. We're so excited to have you here. And so it makes us feel very welcome. That the community has, with us not even taking root yet, been so receptive of us being there.
Well, I think people want healthy choices, and if it's something that they can assess with ease and they can make that investment, I think people are more than willing to do it. I think, like what you said earlier, it's a culinary desert, food desert, and here comes something healthy and tasty. I think it's going to be an amazing awakening.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to see what you do there. And there are a lot of children in the community. You can definitely, here we go brainstorming, but like your kids academy, like there's so many things you can do. It would be awesome.
We are in the same plaza. Well, the plaza that we'll be in is right beside the town hall. So we're on that main strip on Kennedy, but in that same plaza is like a computer lab for kids, and they do after school tutoring and stuff like that. And that's something that we're going to partner with them and see what we can do with that, because I think that would be great, both ways.
Yeah, because I know that you've done, this. Not only have you hosted your own culinary classes for kids, but preschools have hired you to come in and teach kids, and
yes,
it was a hit. Again, I love seeing the posts and hearing the stories. So
yes.
It's all amazing. So Jen, you have, as you just shared previously, like Dajen Eats has grown from posting recipes online to food delivery to being an educator, a teacher, and now you have a restaurant in the middle of a Citgo gas station.
Yes.
So, what have your customers taught you?
My customers have taught me that people will always respond and respect authenticity. We have a lot of people who come in who are not vegan, who may not even be veg curious. We'll have people who are just walking into the gas station, so they might not be on this. They might not be of the same. What's the word that I want to use? They might not share the same food ideals that we share. But I think once we approach them out of kindness and we show them what we really believe, and we're open to, to listen to their side of things, but we're doing so by being authentically ourselves, that people respond to that. They won't always agree with you, but they tend more often than not to respond to and respect that. And that has been like the overwhelming narrative of our time in the gas station. We've taken some time to look at some of our reviews, like on Yelp and on Google, and of course, people talk about the food is great and that's fantastic, but almost every single review talks about the staff. The staff is amazing. They're friendly. They're helpful. You can tell that they're happy to be there. Chef Jenn is really sweet. That kind of stuff, and it just drives home that when you're authentically yourself, that people will be more receptive to that.
I love it. I love it. Be confidently you.
Yes, absolutely.
So Jen, through this journey, I know you have a lot of wisdom to share with different people. So what do you suggest, like budding and seasoned chefs keep in mind when they're building their brands?
I think that that's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because in the beginning, for me, people gravitated towards Jen. I didn't have a brand outside of me, outside of who I was, and people were receptive to that. And you would think that as you grow and you start to become more, I guess for lack of a better term, more corporate, that will go away. But I've learned that in order to keep people with you and to keep growing, that the bigger, quote unquote, you get, the more you have to dive into making sure that you connect with your core audience, making sure that they still recognize you as the brand. So you're not hiding, like, I can't possibly hide behind Dajen Eats. I mean, I am Dajen Eats. This is Jen is Dajen Eats. Like, I live and breathe Dajen Eats. And that's something that I share with the team all the time. We represent Dajen Eats. They don't think of it as, customers don't think of it as this abstract concept. This is us. They're thinking of Dajen Eats as Jen and Kim and Lonnie and Satoria and Edward, because that's the team. And I think that if you're going into this culinary world, yes, you absolutely want to make sure that the food speaks for itself, but then you also want to make sure that you are well represented on that plate so people can connect with you. For example, when I post on Instagram, we always share a story behind the post and make it very personal. There was this one business coach who would often say, facts tell, but stories sell. Like, if I would do a crab cake, like on Fish Fry Fridays, instead of posting on Instagram, hey guys, for tonight we're gonna have crab cakes. It's yummy. It's made from hearts of palm, and it has toasted nori, and it tastes just like crab, and you should come and get it. That's fine and dandy. But what we often do, I'd say, you know what? When I was growing up in Jamaica, my grandfather used to make like the best crab cakes ever. And then when I decided to become vegan, I wanted to replace all that deliciousness in a plant-powered way. And oh my gosh, I think I got it, and you have to come taste it tonight. Like, I didn't even tell you what it's made of. I just shared with you this story, and anybody could connect with some childhood favorite that grandma or mom or somebody made that they're always trying to make when they get older. And so you always want to make sure that you find a way to connect with your core audience. Make yourself relatable. Be more vulnerable. Vulnerability is such a big thing. Be more vulnerable with your audience and connect with them. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. And I like the story suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
It's so key. It's just the little things, right? The little shifts someone can make that can help them be transparent and comfortable with it.
Yes.
Which is really cool. So thank you for that share.
You're welcome.
Now, Jen, you are life on 10. Like, you love life. You encourage life. As the listeners can hear you laugh, you have an infectious smile and laughter, because it comes through when you talk, right? The excitement about what you do. So what keeps you inspired? What's your mindset that you constantly position yourself to be a success magnet that's continually on the flow? What's your magic?
I think you really have to not take things as seriously as they come. There are so many things that can go wrong, and so many things, Michelle, have gone terribly wrong. And from a personal perspective, from a business perspective, there are Saturdays when our entire menu is chicken and waffles and sandwiches. And the kitchen is divided like in 3 workstations. And on Saturdays, the one workstation handles both the waffles and the bread. That's our entire menu. And we've had a couple of Saturdays where that entire wall just lost electricity.
Oh my goodness.
So there goes waffles, there goes the bread, well, there goes our entire menu. And you can panic, and you can go, oh my God, what am I going to do? Or you can go in front of your customers and you put on this perky smile and you go, so this crazy thing happened. We're out of electricity on that side of the wall. So our entire menu is gone. But guess what? We're probably going to get you sandwiches maybe in the next 20 minutes while we'll figure something out. You might see us running around with a waffle iron plugged into interesting spaces, but we'll get your food, and we thank you for hanging with us. And people tend to hang with that, because you're not panicking, and then you're not going, the sky's falling. And I think that has been my approach really with everything. And you'd be surprised how the universe responds to that. If you just think, it goes right back to earlier when you asked me about how I deal with the highs and the lessons. When you think this thing is going to pass, and what is the lesson in this thing that I need to learn? And perhaps that lesson was you need to be more communicative with your clientele and to not panic. And I think that is what gets me from one point to the other. We've had situations where we've had the fire marshal come in and tell me, "Oh, your hood is cute. It's beautiful. It's a residential hood. That won't work. And I probably should shut you down right now." And we look him square in the eye, and I said, "You probably could, but let's talk about it."
Oh.
And in those moments, my stomach is like literally in my toes. See, the thing is, Michelle, a friend said to me the other day, "Jen, you're fearless." And I looked at her and I said, "No, I'm not. I feel fear every day, maybe several times a day. I just don't live in that space. Like, I recognize fear for what it is and just move on. It's like, feel the fear and do it anyway." Does that make sense?
It does.
And I think that's what that is what has kept me going, because there are things that I've accomplished in the past year that if I were to map it out to you, I could not tell you how I accomplished them, except I have you can't beat me. Like with this attitude, you cannot beat me, because I am eternally optimistic. And I think that if we take that approach with life, where we're eternally optimistic, it doesn't matter what is going wrong. We just have this really crazy belief that this is happening for my good and something amazing is around the corner. And the universe responds in kind.
I love it.
Thank you.
Love it, love it, love it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, Jen, how do you stay in the know? Because there's a lot to know about vegan eating and culinary and safety and what's the proper way to make these yummy eats and everything like that. So, how do you stay in the know, and what's going on in the vegan and culinary industries? Like, how do you stay current with the trends?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to be. Give me 1 second, Michelle. You like it. We're in the middle of a gas station, so we have customers coming in and out at the same time. But I think that the one thing that you'd have to admit, Michelle, is that you know very little. And then just build from there. Like whatever I think I know that might change tomorrow, and there's someone who knows a ton more or knows something different that I don't know. And so I tend to associate myself with lots of people in my industry. I'm friends with a lot of the restaurant owners here in Orlando, a lot of the vegan restaurant owners. And we share secrets, we share trade secrets, we share, hey, how do you do this? Oh my gosh, how did you make a tortilla with 3 colors? Because somebody did that crazy thing, right? My friend Boca Fresca, she's making a tortilla for Cinco de Mayo? We're calling it Cinco de Vegan. But she made the tortilla with the Mexican colors, like 1 tortilla with 3 colors. And it's not like tie-dyed, it's like 3, it's divided in 3, like 3 triangles. It's absurd. And I know, it's absurd. So it's like, how do you do that? And then I also, I get a lot of vegan magazines. Shout out especially to Veg News Magazine. Did you know that they listed our rum raisin ice cream as one of the top 50 desserts in the U.S.?
No, but that is one of my favorite, along with is it the cookies and cream? It's not called cookies and cream, though.
The Rhythm and Blue Mountain coffee.
That's it.
Yes.
Those are my 2 favorite.
We've added quite a few more. We have 14 now, so you got to come back in and try some more.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah.
Will do. I will do that.
Magazines, like keeping up with magazines, watching shows. You can get inspiration everywhere, and you always need to hone your craft. Don't ever get stuck with the idea that you've arrived or you know it, because there's always something new emerging. Watch shows, subscribe to magazines, subscribe to newsletters, anything like that, and you're almost guaranteed to pick up something along the way.
I totally agree with you, Jen. I think also I would add, just from me, just listening to you, it also makes you think of humility, just being humble. As an entrepreneur, as someone sharing content with the world, you just have to be humble because you don't know what's going to come your way. And I think you demonstrate that very effortlessly in how you interact with people. It's just like, I know that my story could be different, so you appreciate what you're able to do.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, indeed. Now, I know we talked a little bit about your passion for the community, but how has your passion and your commitment for demonstrating, like civic responsibility impacted your personal legacy? Like, have you always been about the vegan life, and where do you see your legacy taking you?
It's big and it's small at the same time, because when you're in the act of it, when you're doing it, you're not necessarily thinking, of your legacy and what's the mark that you're going to leave.
Right.
There's something in that moment that you're passionate about, and there's something that you want to advocate for. I believe that we can choose to live in a way that's compassionate, where we can treat human and non-human animals fairly and with dignity. That I believe that to my core. And to me, whatever opportunity that I get, even if it's outside of my cooking, where I can share that, it can be as simple as when I go to another restaurant, I'd say, hey, can you hold a straw, please? Hey, you want to know why we hold a straw? And then tell them why we hold a straw. And I've noticed that whenever my friends go out with me, or even my team, whenever they go out with me, they will say, hold a straw, please. And it's not something that, that I've asked them to do. It's just, by observing my behavior and telling them why I don't do it and why it's bad for the environment and for the animals, that they've chosen to continue that. And for me, that is part of legacy on such a personal level, where you can have a personal impact. In terms of the community, it's always interesting, like reading some of the stuff that people write, like on social media. I've had a couple of instances where you'd have some people, I have no idea who they are, and they'd say, hey, tag your favorite business owner and say why. And a lot of times I'm left like in tears, because they'd say, hey, you really need to know Chef Jenn from Dajen Eats, because she does so much for the community. And yes, I want to represent veganism in a way that is approachable to everyone. But because I do it like with each person that comes there, sometimes I forget that the community is made up by these persons. Like these individual persons make up the community. And so when you're impacting one person, and that person impacts somebody else, and that person impacts somebody else, you're creating this legacy that is so much bigger than who you are and will outlive you. And I think that in terms of civic duty, I think that's what's happening from my perspective.
I love your perspective. It's great.
Thanks.
It is so great. Now, Jen, what are a few of your favorite culinary and business tools and resources? Because I know that you sometimes promote different tools in the kitchen to your audience, but do you have any favorite?
That's a great question. What is that one tool in the kitchen that I can't live without? Okay, so I'm going to tell you like this funny story. You know how you have, everybody talks about, the chef's knife, and it's wonderful and fantastic, and every chef needs to have a chef knife, which is usually like this 8-inch or 10-inch beautiful, gorgeous thing. And when I wasn't a chef, someone gifted me a knife, which is probably like Rolls Royce of knives. It had my name engraved in the handle. Ooh. And I mean, it was really fancy. And I wasn't vegan at the time, and I did probably the dumbest thing of my entire life. I was to take that really expensive knife and use it to try to break the bone of an oxtail. And the knife got stuck in the bone and broke off. Mm-hmm. So I've always had this love affair with knives, but in my kitchen, everybody fights over this one knife. And it's this really humble, really unassuming, like very tiny serrated knife. It's like a bread knife, but smaller. And it's serrated. But because it's serrated, it cuts tomatoes well. It cuts our seitan like brilliantly. And everybody like argues over the one knife. And we have a ton of knives. But if that knife goes missing, it's like the kitchen comes to a halt. Where is the knife? And everybody knows what the knife is.
Oh my goodness.
That's probably my favorite tool. And you'd never be able to tell. Yeah.
Okay, what about any business tools from a business operation standpoint?
From a business operation standpoint, I found that it is best to outsource. Instead of pretending to be this amazing accountant, which I'm not, or this amazing bookkeeper, which I'm not, I outsource my payroll. And we've gone through like a couple of different platforms But I think the one, is it appropriate to say like what I use? Because I'm like really enamored with it.
Sure.
Okay, so, and this is something that another business owner shared with me, and it has literally saved my life, because I was using another platform that would charge for like a flat fee, then $10 per employee per direct deposit per payroll, which quickly adds up. But I use SunTrust for our payroll, and it's like $50 for the month, and they do everything. They'll do direct deposit. They'll file your payroll taxes every quarter. You basically just go in and spend 2 minutes putting in the hours for that each employee has worked, and payroll is done. They'll help you with onboarding, all of that. It's like, it's the best thing since sliced bread, but not since that knife. Yeah, like I'm totally in love with that. And then one of the things that really got me totally in love with the science of cooking is called Ruby. It's spelled ROUXBE, and it's an online cooking school, but you really kind of do a deep dive into food science, and it takes you from the basic things, like the basic things, and it builds you up into these spectacular, to the point where you're making these spectacular meals. And years ago I enrolled in ruby.com, and I did like a lifetime membership, and I promise you the substantial portion of what I know as a chef I learned from Ruby.
Really?
I also named my dog after them. Her name is Ruby, and it's spelled exactly that way, ROUXBE.
Do you have both the dogs still?
Yes, I still have Bear and Ruby. And the funny thing is, because Ruby's spelled in such an odd way, I use this walking service for the dogs called WAG, and they come in, and it's like Uber for dogs, like for dog walking. And so they come in, and oh hi, I'm here to pick up Bear and Rooksby, and I'm always like laughing, like, no, her name is Ruby. But yeah, here she is.
Well, I know that you're an animal advocate. I know that both of your dogs are rescue dogs, right?
Yes, they both are.
Which supports your love of animals.
Yes. I feel like there are, let me get on my soapbox. I feel like there are so many animals out there in shelters, in high kill shelters, that need a home, that we really don't need to keep breeding these animals. And I think one of the things that people run into is the cuteness of puppies. Like, their puppies are super cute, and then it wears off. And then they go, oh, I don't want this puppy anymore because he pees. Oh, yeah? He pees and he poops, and he leaves hair everywhere. So I'm going to dump him at the shelter. And so, the love affair with the puppies that you've paid a bazillion amount of dollars for has died, and now this puppy is in a shelter. And if this dog doesn't get adopted, by X days, because there is no space, they get euthanized, they get killed. And so I think that if anyone out there is ever looking for a dog or cat companion, that I would encourage you to get your next companion from a shelter, because there are so many lovely animals out there that could use a home. Bear came from a shelter in Lakeland, and Ruby came from a husky rescue in Dade City.
My goodness. That is your legacy.
Yes.
That is your legacy. Jen, I appreciate you being a guest on the Career Tipper podcast. It's been a treat catching up with you, and I'm so happy that you've shared your culinary journey with my listeners, and I hope that someone will be inspired by it. I'm sure they will, by your story and how they can just start where they are and just trust the process.
Yeah. Yes, Michelle, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yes, this has been awesome. But before you leave, please share your favorite quote or affirmation that keeps you creating career tipping moments. It's my signature ending to the podcast episodes.
Okay, fantastic. So I kind of hinted at my poetry boyfriend earlier on in the conversation. His name is Rudyard Kipling, and I'm pretty sure I was born like in the wrong period because I would have totally dated him because he's awesome. He wrote If, and the one line, the closing line in that poem is that line that I live by. And he goes through these a lot of these scenarios. If you can do this, if you can do that, if you can do this, but he ends with, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. I'm going to forgive him for the misogyny, but the point is still the same.
Goodness gracious. Power to the lady.
But that's my favorite. It reminds me that we all have a limited time, and in the same breath we all have the same 24 hours each day, and it's up to us how we use that. And he brings it all the way down to the minute. Like, if you can just max out that minute, just give the minute everything that you've got, there's so much for you to inherit. And not even just from like a materialistic perspective, but from character building. He said, you'll be a man, my son. Can you imagine the depth of character if you decide one morning to get up and for all your waking hours just to give that time everything that you've got? Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's my favorite.
I love your favorite. Thank you for sharing that. Now, before we depart, one more thing. Please share how the listeners can get in touch with you.
Everybody out there, you can find us at DajenEats.com. That's DajenEats.com. And then we're also on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Tumblr, and all of our handles is Dajen Eats. That's DajenEats.com. But if you are in Orlando or visiting Orlando, or decide to drive from North Carolina to Orlando, as someone once did, you can come see us at 4845 North Orange Blossom Trail. This is inside the Lisico gas station. Come and have a bite with us. There's a good chance I'll be there, and I'll chat with you. If I'm not here, I'm pretty sure I have the greatest, most fantastic, friendliest team ever. They'll take care of you. And then in a couple of months, come see us at our new Eatonville location, which will be at 323 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite F, in Eatonville, Florida.
And when is the opening for that?
We are hoping July 1, but if you follow us on Instagram and Facebook, we'll keep you updated.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. And listeners, you can find me, Michelle Beatty, on Instagram at Career Tipper, Facebook at Career Tipper, and Twitter at Career Tipper1. Be sure to stop by CareerTipper.com, sign up for our weekly newsletter. Please subscribe and follow the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher Radio. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Career Tipper Podcast. We're grateful for our listeners and guests. For more resources about how to evolve to your professional best, share your comments and feedback about this episode and your suggestions for future guests, visit CareerTipper.com. Until next time, be confidently you.